little behind
The next
schedule.
speaker is Dr. Megha Gulati, Vitreoretina from the
Thank you for
Lalu
the
Prasad Eye Institute. Dr. Megha.
Yeah, good morning to all. Am I
please
audible?
start. Yes, you are
Yes.
My
audible.
screen is visible.
yeah
it's
visible.
Please start.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. So I will be talking about lensectomy. So sometimes what can happen is through the phacoemulsification anterior or the limbal route, we are not able to take care of the cataractous lens, and then lensectomy through the limbal or the pars plana route is the preferable choice. So today I will be dealing lensectomy under the following subheadings. What will be the indications, which route to prefer, which instrument to prefer, what complications we anticipate, and is PVD induction essential in a case of lensectomy? So out of the many indications we know of lensectomy, the few important ones are mentioned here, like ectopia lentis, what we see in Marfan syndrome or homocystinuria, then microspherophakia, in lens abscess, or as a part of VIA surgery when we have a complicated cataract or during foreign body removal. Then the most common being the posterior lens dislocation, what we usually see in a case of complicated cataract surgery or post-trauma. Now, when the lens is subluxated, that it is visible anteriorly, it might be clear or a cataractous lens. Then which route to prefer is the question here. So we can have a limbal route or a pars plana route for lensectomy. So if it is possible, limbal route is preferable. And the studies have shown not much significant difference between the limbal and the pars plana route in terms of outcomes. So here we can see a superiotemporal subluxated lens in case of Marfan syndrome. So through the limbal route, the lensectomy is being done. Now the visible part can be easily taken care of. The hidden part beneath the iris and the sclera, that we have to take care very importantly. So with the help of indentation, we have to remove the hidden part of the lens, as well as whole of the capsule need to be taken care of to prevent any vitreoretinal traction or PVR changes, which is very common in cases of Marfan syndrome. While in microspherophakia, although it is anterior the lens is seen, the zonula support is very poor. So a pars plana route is preferable because there is a risk of nucleus drop. So in cases of microspherophakia, we would prefer a pars plana route rather than an anterior route as they have a poor zonula support. So this was in cases of subluxated lens that we can have a limbal or a pars plana route. Now, if it is a posteriorly dislocated clear or a cataractous lens, the limbal route is not an option. We are left with the pars plana route. Now, which instrument to use for lensectomy comes the question. So we can use either a vitrectomy cutter or a phragmatome. Now, this depends upon the density of the lens. So what is the grade of the cataract? Sometimes, if the grade we can't assess, the other eye can help us in grading the what approximately the grade of the cataract would be in this patient. So now if it is a clear or a soft lens, so like in this case, which is a post-trauma in a 6-year-old child with vitreous hemorrhage, now we make sclerotomy 3 mm from limbus, we do core vitrectomy and vitreous-based shaving. PVD was already induced in this patient. Now the clear lens is noted, macular hole is noted, and there is a subretinal hemorrhage. So we try to, with the help of suction, we try to bring the lens into the mid-vitreous cavity and then try to do the lensectomy. We should try doing any maneuver in the posterior vitreous cavity. So with the help of suction and the cutting, we do the lensectomy in the mid-vitreous cavity with the help of cutter in cases of soft or clear lens. While if it is a dense cataract, then phragmatome is the only option we are left with. Now, few points about phragmatome before we move on to the video is, phragmatome is similar to a phacoemulsification probe. It cannot cut the vitreous. So it does not have a sleeve, lest it is similar to a phacoemulsification probe. It cannot cut the vitreous. So if without doing a good core vitrectomy, we try to use a phragmatome, there will be vitreoretinal traction, which can in future lead to retinal break and detachment. Other caveat here is that it is a wide bore instrument. It is 19 or 20 gauge, and conventionally what we use is 23 or the 25 gauge instruments. So when we are using a phragmatome, first of all, we have to enlarge the sclerotomy. Secondly, we have to take care of the infusion pressure. We have to increase the infusion pressure as the infusion line is 23 gauge. Secondly, because of the surge which can happen, we have to work with the phragmatome in the mid-vitreous cavity to avoid any iatrogenic retinal trauma. Secondly, we have to occlude and then emulsify to take care of the infusion pressure. So we have to take care of all these points before we move on to fragmentome. Now, this was a subluxated cataractous lens of grade 3 nuclear sclerosis post-trauma. So before taking care of the lens, now lens will be visible. You should not see at the lens first, try to induce PVD, do a good core vitrectomy and peripheral vitreous-based shaving. And then we take the help of the fragmentome. Now you, with the help of suction, you try to bring it into the mid-vitreous cavity and then try to emulsify it. The power of the fragmentome depends upon the density of the cataract. It can vary from 10 to 40, while the suction what we usually use during a fragmentome is 150 millimeters of mercury. So what small nucleus fragments remain in the end, rather than taking care of them with the fragmentome, a cutter will be a preferable choice. In the end, a very important step is periphery evaluation by indentation. Why we need to do that? We have to take care of the retained lens matter of the capsule, as it can be a source of persistent chronic postoperative inflammation, as well as retinal breaks, which can lead to retinal detachment. So we have to take the care of retinal breaks with the help of cryopexy or retinopexy, followed by fluid gas exchange if needed. So what complications can happen rather than, it's a VR surgery. So all VR surgeries can have common complications, but what is more commonly associated with the pars plana lensectomy is the retinal detachment. Transient vitreous hemorrhage because of dispersed heme can happen. Choroidal detachment can happen because I told you it's a wide bore cannula and we are having a 20 gauge instrument. Then cystoid macular edema can be there. So now here we can see that during PVD induction, a nasal break is noted. So after doing a core vitrectomy, it was taken care of with endolaser and fluid gas exchange. So what we saw a break during PVD induction. So is PVD induction essential before pars plana lensectomy is the question. So we have to ensure a good core vitrectomy first of all. That is very important. Now the question remains whether to induce PVD or not. So studies have shown similar results between PVD is induced or not induced. Retinal break incidence is slightly higher with PVD induction, but if we take care of the breaks during the primary intervention itself, the post-operative outcome and the incidence of retinal detachment is seen to be same in both the groups. So what points we learned were that a good vitrectomy is essential. In microspherophakia, a pars plana route would be preferable. We have to take care of infusion pressure while we are using a fragmentome, and the periphery evaluation in end is must before closing the surgery. Yeah, thank you.
Extremely informative presentation, Dr. Megha. Thanks for the presentation. So I would ask the panelists to comment on if they have any special comments for them.
One thing, once you are doing a soft cataract, then you need not use a cutting and suction together.
Yeah.
You clear the vitreous and then it will work as an IA. You put off your cutters, then it will work as an IA. So you can just remove the cortex from the behind the iris like what anterior segment surgeon does. Because many times using cutting just gives a jackhammer effect and it dislodges the epinucleus or the nucleus into the vitreous cavity. So suction is a better way to remove the peripheral part, cortex or the epinucleus.
Thank you.
Nice presentation, Dr. Gulati. One point I would like to mention that it is always preferable to have PVD induced before doing lensectomy in a drop nucleus, because having a PVD rather decreases the risk of multiple breaks because of high traction which we use for lensectomy. And second thing is that when we are doing lensectomy, suppose the lens falls down on the vitreous and we have a lot of anterior capsular remnants which are there. So then those have to be removed after removing the biome, depressing from the limbus and removing each bit of capsular material or the lens material which are there behind the iris. And doing so in a pediatric and adult patient is different. In adult patient, we can use an intraocular forceps and pull the capsular remnants from behind the iris. But in pediatric, this adhesion is very thick and very tough. So pulling those anterior capsular remnants in pediatric eyes can lead to pars plana detachment and also. So we can use cutter to remove those in pediatric eyes. That is important.
One point which we can discuss is during the lensectomy, which Dr. Megha Gulati has.
We have to move on to the next.
Yeah, just a second. Yeah. So, Dr. Megha Gulati has rightly said that when we are working behind the iris, it's very important that you do not damage the iris. I would suggest that during those process when you are working behind the iris, you can use a little bit of suction rather than cutting at that place. With vacuum, you can pull the remnant of the lens a little bit towards away from the iris, and then you can use your cutter to remove the lens matter.